Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to all of you because I think many of you are in a time zone where it is morning now. So, today I'm here again in front of all of you with a very interesting thing to talk about. So, I thought instead of making a PowerPoint presentation, let me just speak with all of you. Okay, so I'll be telling something interesting about forensic genetics. Well, as you know that I love speaking about genetics and I keep speaking about genetics. But then today I will try to tell you how fascinating how fascinating way genetics is inside forensic sciences too. So if also while watching, if you're here, give me some highs and hellos that inspires me a lot. As well as if you have any questions during the discussion, you can always put it up. So the first question that comes to the mind is definitely what is forensic genetics all about? So basically, forensic genetics is that branch of science, or we can tell where we are trying to analyze any fluids, body fluids, tissues, any tissue samples, even blood, and basically we extract DNA, that is deoxyribonucleic acid, for identification. So, in a simple way, basically, forensic genetics is can be explained as a branch of medicine where we try to deal with legal matters by applying this knowledge into medicine. Now, as I was mentioning, that I will tell you certain interesting facts. So, first of all, another question definitely comes to our mind because, as I said, that what is forensic genetics? I told about DNA. So, the question that comes to the mind is why are we talking about only DNA? Why is this definition not having, and I'm not having RNA or protein, not talking about that? Well, there is a reason behind it. So let me just tell you that. With exception of certain viruses, okay, apart from that, DNA, DNA is something which is life, and it has the biological code or the hereditary code. It is hereditary. It is heredity. The information is inside DNA. And apart from that, DNA is both very resilient and it can be repaired easily. Like inside the cell, it can be repaired easily. The repair mechanisms are better in DNA than RNA, and that's why DNA is chosen in case of forensics because serves as a more stable carrier of the genetic information that is essential to survive and reproduction. And in case of forensics, definitely about the identification or the authentication of the whatever our doubts are. So, another question that definitely comes again is you might have heard about something called as very commonly used when we talk about forensic genetics, that is DNA profiling or DNA fingerprinting. So, what is the role of basically this DNA fingerprinting or DNA profiling? So basically, in criminal investigations, this technique is used to compare criminal profiles, okay, suspects profiles to the DNA evidence, so that we can assess that how much or the likelihood of their involvement in the crime, and also it is used in many other kind of tests like paternity test, then to establish the immigrant eligibility, and in genealogical and medical research as well. So DNA profiling or DNA typing is a very, very strong tool that is being used from years together, and there has been enough advancement as well at present time. So, what exactly is this DNA typing or DNA profiling? How it came into forensics? Basically, DNA typing or DNA profiling is a technique in genetics where we analyze the DNA and we try to study the inheritance pattern of genes with reference to standards to detect certain mutations. It generally started with like the in cases of medical conditions, but now it is very much used in forensics. Okay, so another obvious question is uh, like, is it how accurate it is, or is it then is DNA analysis accurate, or can we just rely on it, just closing our eyes, being blind? Well, yes, I'll tell you the reason, as well as, and I'll tell you that why it is so absolute. It is a very, very sensitive technology, and it is one of the most accurate one, because the thing is that in case of um like, if I tell accuracy, or maybe if I tell about paternity test and accuracy, to make it simple to understand, the thing is that no test is 100% accurate, right? So there will any kind of error will be there. So because there are several factors that determines whether, you know about the 100% accuracy test. But DNA typing or DNA fingerprinting, or the tests that we do for molecular genetics in forensics, is reliable, because there are two things in this. Now, what you can do, there are two types of DNA typing basically. One is called as exclusive testing, another is called as inclusive testing. So, what is this exclusive testing? So, exclusive testing is something where it is a kind of paternity test. Okay, so it's kind of just ruling out the man as the father of the baby. Okay, so the men are ruled out if the DNA does not match or correspond to the DNA of the child. And the second form is that I was telling about the paternity test. Since I'm giving that example, that is inclusive testing. So in this, what happens? It determines the probability that a particular man is the father of the child. So the results of the paternity test comes out with an accuracy of 99.9%, and it tells whether the alleged uh, person is the biological father or not. So, and the result as such is very, very accurate. That is what I meant to tell you. And when it comes to things like, another question is, obviously, as I say, that DNA is very stable as a sample, and particularly until unless it is contaminated from a crime scene. That is what happens in a crime scene. We don't expect a very pure form of DNA there. It might be mixed, and it might be degraded also. But now there are technologies with which we can actually test all those things and use the genetic tools to do affirmative studies. So when it comes to forensic genetics, it is all about how you extract the DNA from different samples. So it can be a skin sample, it can be hair, it can be teeth, it can be saliva, dried saliva, it can be blood, dried blood. Okay, so from anywhere you can, from any sample, you have to see that you take out the DNA carefully, and then you go about identifying it. So I think that was about the more about the forensic genetics, or application of genetics in forensics. So if you have any questions, you can put up in the comments, which I will try to answer. Thank you so much.